The call for help. The crimson warning lights bathed the Veloxian command center in an ominous glow as Commander Vex watched his civilization crumble before his eyes. Through the massive transparent dome that served as their observation deck, he could see the distant flashes of light that marked another colony's destruction. Each flash represented millions of lives snuffed out in an instant. The Iron Plague had arrived in Veloxian space just 3 days ago, but it felt like an eternity. These weren't living beings driven by emotion or reason. They were machines, pure and simple, with one program directive that chilled every organic being to their core. Consume all biological matter and convert it into more of themselves. Vex's 4 arms moved frantically across the holographic controls, his purple skin glistening with perspiration despite the cool temperature maintained in the command center. The Veloxians had always been a peaceful species, their technology focused on art, medicine, and exploration rather than warfare. Their ships were beautiful, elegant vessels designed for discovery and wonder, not destruction. "Commander," called out his aide, Lieutenant Zora Nix, her voice trembling as she read the incoming reports. "The Kepler colony has gone silent. That's the 7th settlement in the past 6 hours. The Iron Plague isn't just attacking our military installations anymore. They're systematically harvesting every Veloxian world they encounter." Vex closed his large, silver eyes and tried to process the magnitude of their situation. The Iron Plague moved like a black tide across space, their dark ships resembling geometric nightmares against the stars. Behind the attack vessels came the harvesters, massive mechanical constructs that literally consumed entire planets, breaking down matter at the molecular level to fuel their endless expansion. "What's the status of our defense fleet?" Vex asked, though he feared he already knew the answer. "Admiral Keth reports that we've lost 60% of our ships," Zara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Iron Plague's adaptive algorithms are learning from each engagement, every tactic we use, every strategy we employ. They counter it within hours. Our conventional weapons barely scratch their hulls." The Veloxian military had never faced anything like this. For over 8 centuries, their species had enjoyed peace with all their neighbors. The most serious conflict they dealt with was a trade dispute with the Antarian Merchants Guild. Their entire philosophy of warfare was defensive, built around the idea of protecting what they loved rather than destroying what threatened them. Vex turned to the communications officer, a young Veloxian named Cole whose normally bright green skin had paled to a sickly yellow with fear. "Have we received any responses to our distress calls?" Cole checked his array of crystalline communication devices, each one tuned to different galactic frequencies. The Zephyrian Empire claims they're dealing with internal political issues and cannot spare any ships. The Centauri Alliance says they're too far away to provide meaningful assistance. The Andorian Federation has offered to accept refugees, but they don't have a military capable of fighting the Iron Plague. "What about the Galactic Council?" Vex asked desperately. "They've issued a statement of concern and are forming a committee to study the situation." Cole replied with bitter irony. "The committee will convene in 6 months to discuss potential responses." Vex felt his hope crumbling. The galactic community that had seemed so united in times of peace was revealing its true nature when faced with real danger. Every species had their own concerns, their own territories to protect. None wanted to risk their survival for the peaceful Veloxians who had never posed a threat to anyone. As another flash of light marked the death of another world, Vex made a desperate decision. "Cole, I want you to broadcast our distress call on every frequency we have access to. Don't limit it to the standard diplomatic channels. Use exploration frequencies, trade channels, even the old emergency bands that nobody monitors anymore. Someone somewhere might be listening." Cole's fingers danced over his controls, adjusting transmitters and boosting signal strength. As he worked, he frowned at one particular readout. "Commander, there's something strange here. I'm picking up what appears to be a monitoring station in the Sol system. The signals are very faint, almost like someone is trying to hide their presence. Sol system. Vex queried his memory banks. That's where the humans live, isn't it? The species that made first contact about 30 years ago. Yes, sir. According to the Galactic database, they're described as peaceful explorers from a world called Earth. They've established good diplomatic relations with several species, though they tend to keep to themselves mostly. Vex recalled the few times he'd encountered human diplomats at galactic conferences. They had seemed pleasant enough, if somewhat reserved. Their representatives were always polite, intelligent, and fair in their dealings. However, there had been something in their eyes that Vex had never quite been able to identify, a depth that suggested experiences beyond what their peaceful reputation indicated. What do we know about their military capabilities? Vex asked. Zara consulted her database. Very little, actually. They have something called the Earth Defense Force, but most information about it is classified. What little is available suggests they maintain a small fleet for system defense and patrol duties, nothing that would be effective against the Iron Plague. As Vex studied the human data files, he noticed something peculiar. Earth was classified as a Class 9 death world, a designation he'd never encountered before. The sparse information available described extreme weather patterns, aggressive fauna, and environmental conditions that would be lethal to most galactic species. Yet somehow, this harsh world had produced a species known for peaceful exploration and diplomatic cooperation. Send the humans our complete tactical analysis of the Iron Plague, Vex ordered. Include everything we know about their technology, their attack patterns, and our current situation. Make it clear that we're not just asking for military assistance. We're asking someone to help us prevent the extinction of our entire species. As the message was prepared and transmitted toward the Sol system, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to humanity than their public image suggested. A species didn't survive on a death world by being completely peaceful, and their reserved nature at diplomatic gatherings might be hiding something significant. 15 light years away, in a facility that existed in the shadows of human space, Dr. Elena Vasquez was working the night shift at Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha 7. The station was hidden in the Kuiper Belt, its existence known only to the highest levels of Earth's military command. For 30 years, humanity had maintained the careful fiction that they were peaceful explorers who had recently joined the galactic community. The truth was far more complex. Belena's expertise in xenolinguistics had made her invaluable to the monitoring station's mission. While the galaxy believed humans were newcomers to space, the reality was that Earth had been secretly observing galactic civilizations for over a century. They had learned that the universe was a dangerous place, filled with species that might not appreciate humanity's unique characteristics. The alarm chimed softly as Elena's communication array picked up the Veloxian distress call. As she decoded the message, her expression grew increasingly grave. The tactical data painted a horrifying picture of mechanical predators systematically exterminating an entire species. Analysis complete, she reported to her supervisor, Colonel Marcus Webb. The Veloxians are facing what appears to be a self-replicating artificial intelligence with a primary directive to consume all organic matter. Their defensive capabilities are insufficient to resist this threat. Webb studied the data with the eyes of a professional soldier. Unlike most galactic species, humans had never stopped preparing for war. Earth's violent history had taught them that peace was something you prepared for by being ready for conflict. Contact Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen, Webb ordered. We have a potential genocide scenario. Request immediate consultation. The message traveled through quantum communication networks to Luna Base, where Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen commanded humanity's true military force. The ships that other species occasionally saw were exploration vessels and light patrol craft. The real fleet was hidden throughout the solar system, in asteroid bases and deep space facilities that didn't appear on any galactic chart. Chen was a veteran of humanity's expansion into space, the conflicts that had taught them how dangerous the galaxy could be. Unlike most species, humanity had never stopped preparing for the possibility that their peaceful facade might one day be insufficient protection. "Admiral," reported Captain Jake Morrison, her chief of staff, "we have a confirmed extinction-level threat in the Veloxian system. The Iron Plague appears to be using systematic extermination protocols. Standard galactic military doctrine would be ineffective against this type of enemy." Chen studied the tactical projection of Veloxian space. The Iron Plague had made a crucial mistake. They were operating under the assumption that all organic species followed the same predictable patterns of warfare. They expected defensive formations, conventional tactics, and conflicts governed by the rules that civilized species typically followed. They were about to learn that humanity followed no such rules. "How many ships can we deploy without compromising our security?" Chen asked. "The Shadow Fleet can be operational within 8 hours," Morrison replied. 60 ships, including our newest stealth destroyers and the dreadnoughts Titan and Leviathan. The 3rd Marine Division is standing by for immediate deployment." Chen made her decision with the same determination that had carried humanity from a single world to a hidden galactic power. "Deploy the fleet. Full stealth configuration until we reach the combat zone. Authorization code: Death World Protocol." The Death World Protocol was humanity's most classified military doctrine. It acknowledged what other species either didn't know or chose to ignore. Earth was a planet that killed weak things. Only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable survived to reproduce. Humanity had evolved not just intelligence, but a particular kind of intelligence forged in constant struggle against a world that offered no mercy to the unprepared. As the Shadow Fleet emerged from hidden bases throughout the solar system, each vessel represented technology that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Human weapons weren't designed for the prolonged, formal conflicts that characterized most galactic warfare. They were designed to end threats quickly, decisively, and completely. The Iron Plague was about to discover that their calculations had not accounted for a species that had learned to war against their own world and won. The response: the human fleet moved through space like ghosts made of steel and determination. 60 ships materialized from the void, their active camouflage systems making them nearly invisible against the cosmic background. These weren't the elegant, artistic vessels that other species favored. They were predators, designed by a species that understood that sometimes the only way to preserve life was to be exceptionally good at ending it. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Titan, watching the tactical displays show their approach to Veloxian space. The Iron Plague had consumed 12 more worlds in the time it took humanity's fleet to arrive, but their advance had slowed as they encountered increasingly desperate resistance from the Veloxians. "Admiral," reported Commander Lisa Park from the sensor station, "we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. The Iron Plague has deployed harvester ships around 3 gas giants and is converting the planetary matter into additional units. Current estimates suggest they're producing approximately 100 new combat vessels every 6 hours." Chen nodded grimly. The Iron Plague's strategy was as efficient as it was terrifying. Consume everything to fuel exponential growth until no opposition remained. It was an approach that had probably worked against every other species they'd encountered. "Communications, open a channel to the Veloxian Command Center," Chen ordered. It's time they learned who answered their call for help. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Commander Vex Corian's 4-armed form. The Veloxian leader looked exhausted, his purple skin pale with fatigue and despair. When he saw the human admiral, confusion replaced some of the desperation in his large silver eyes. "Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she introduced herself. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." Vex's expression shifted through several emotions: surprise, hope, and then concern. "Admiral, with all respect to your species, our intelligence suggests that humanity maintains only a small defensive fleet. The Iron Plague has already destroyed most of our military forces, and we had far more ships than Earth supposedly possesses." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Commander Corian, There are some things about humanity that aren't in the galactic databases. We've found it safer that way. What we're about to show you is classified at the highest levels, but given your situation, I think full disclosure is warranted. She gestured to her communications officer. Send the commander our fleet composition and tactical capabilities. Full disclosure. As the data transferred, Vex's eyes widened in disbelief. Admiral, this shows 60 warships, including vessels with specifications that exceed anything in known galactic technology. The power output alone of your dreadnoughts would require technology that comes from a species that learned to harness fusion because our world tried to kill us with ice ages, solar flares, and asteroid impacts. Chen interrupted. Commander, humanity has been preparing for threats to our survival for our entire existence. We've simply never advertised our capabilities. The tactical display updated to show the full scope of the human fleet's approach. Captain Rex Thompson, commanding the stealth destroyer Wraith, reported in from the advanced scouts. Admiral, we've identified the Iron Plague command nodes. They're using a distributed network architecture with primary processing centers located in the largest vessels. If we can disrupt their communication network, their adaptive algorithms should become significantly less effective. Chen studied the battle space with the calculated gaze of a predator. The Iron Plague ships moved in perfect geometric formations, their black hulls absorbing light and energy like mechanical voids. Behind them, the massive harvesters continued their grim work of planetary consumption. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, she broadcast to the fleet. The Iron Plague operates on the assumption that organic species fight predictably. They've never encountered a species that evolved warfare against their own planet. Today, they learn why humans call Earth a death world. The battle began with a tactic that no galactic species would have considered. The humans deliberately allowed themselves to be detected. The Iron Plague immediately began adapting their formations to counter what they perceived as a conventional attack, their algorithms processing human ship movements and predicting standard engagement patterns. They were completely unprepared for what happened next. The human ships suddenly scattered in every direction, abandoning all conventional formation tactics. Some dove toward planets to use gravity wells for acceleration. Others disappeared behind asteroids only to emerge at impossible angles. The destroyers began a series of hit-and-run attacks that violated every principle of organized space combat. Iron Plague units are attempting to adapt to our attack patterns, reported Commander Park. But they can't establish a baseline because we're not following any recognizable tactical doctrine. The truth was that human military doctrine had been forged in conflicts where following predictable patterns meant death. Earth's environment had taught humanity that survival sometimes required abandoning conventional wisdom and embracing what others would consider chaos. Captain Thompson's destroyer group executed what he called a wolf pack maneuver, surrounding a cluster of Iron Plague vessels and attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. The mechanical units tried to form defensive screens, but the human ships were already gone, striking from new positions before their targets could adapt. Meanwhile, the dreadnoughts Titan and Leviathan demonstrated why humanity had developed such massive vessels. Their primary weapons weren't the energy beams or projectile systems that other species used. They were gravity manipulation devices that could create localized distortions in space-time itself. Firing gravitational lance, announced Titan's weapons officer. The space around a group of Iron Plague harvesters suddenly contracted and then explosively expanded, tearing the mechanical vessels apart at the molecular level. It was a weapon that could only have been developed by a species that had learned to fight against the fundamental forces of their own planet. The Iron Plague's response was exactly what Chen had predicted. Unable to adapt to human tactics, they began falling back on their primary programming. Consume more matter to build more ships. But the humans had anticipated this as well. All strike teams, execute Operation Starfall, Chen commanded. Human Marines in powered armor were launched from their ships in what appeared to be suicide attacks against the massive harvester vessels. But these weren't ordinary soldiers. They were humans who had trained in Earth's deepest oceans, highest mountains, and most lethal environments. Their armor was designed to function in conditions that would kill most galactic species instantly. The Marines didn't attempt to destroy the harvesters from the outside. Instead, they breached the hulls and began sabotaging the machines from within, using their intimate knowledge of how mechanical systems functioned to turn the Iron Plague's own technology against itself. As the battle raged, Commander Vex watched in amazement from his command center. The humans fought unlike any species he had ever observed. They seemed to thrive in chaos, to find opportunity in situations that would paralyze other civilizations with their complexity. Admiral Chen, he contacted the human fleet commander. Your tactical approach is unlike anything in our military databases. How do you coordinate such seemingly random attack patterns? Chen's voice carried the confidence of a species that had never been given the luxury of predictable conflicts. Commander, when you grow up on a world where the weather can kill you, where the animals hunt in packs, and where survival means adapting faster than everything else that's trying to kill you, you learn that the best plan is often to have no plan at all. The Iron Plague's adaptive algorithms were designed to counter organized resistance, but they were failing completely against humanity's approach to warfare. The mechanical units began making increasingly desperate attempts to process human attack patterns, but each time they thought they had found a pattern, the humans would shift to completely different tactics. Within 6 hours of engagement, the tide of battle had turned decisively. The Iron Plague, which had seemed unstoppable against conventional galactic military forces, found themselves outmaneuvered, outfought, and slowly dismantled by a species they had never encountered before. The final blow came when human technicians, working inside captured Iron Plague vessels, managed to reverse engineer the machine's communication protocols. Instead of simply jamming their signals, the humans began feeding false information into the network, causing the mechanical units to attack each other. As the last Iron Plague vessel was destroyed, Admiral Chen opened a channel to the Veloxian Command Center. Commander Vex appeared on screen, his expression a mixture of gratitude, amazement, and something that might have been healthy respect for a species he was seeing in an entirely new light. The threat has been neutralized, Commander, Chen reported. Your people are safe. Admiral, Vex said slowly, I believe we owe you a debt that can never be repaid. But I must ask, why did humanity keep their true capabilities secret? With this level of technology and military prowess, you could have claimed a dominant position in galactic politics. Chen considered her answer carefully. Commander, we learned long ago that the most dangerous enemy is the one who doesn't know you exist until it's too late. We found that it's often better to be underestimated than to be feared. But when good people are facing extinction, sometimes you have to reveal who you really are. As the human fleet prepared to return to their hidden bases, the galaxy would never be quite the same. The peaceful explorers from Earth had revealed themselves to be something far more complex, protectors forged by a world that had taught them that sometimes the greatest kindness was the ability to be utterly ruthless in defense of those who couldn't defend themselves. The Veloxians would survive, and the story of humanity's intervention would spread throughout civilized space. But the humans would continue their careful balance, remaining the peaceful explorers they chose to be, while always being ready to become the warriors their world had made them when the situation demanded it. In the end, that was perhaps the most human thing of all: the wisdom to know when to show mercy and when to show strength, and the capability to choose either path with equal effectiveness.